Hi there, this is Karen with inspiredbygram.com. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be using the Hello Harvest bundle. And as you can see here, the stamp set is more a fall theme, but you can change this up to make spring flowers as well. And this is kind of like a simple banner, all occasions. So the dies are here and they are called the Rustic Pumpkin dies, and there are 11 dies in the set. I really like the pumpkins and the stem here because it does have that nice little embossing. And I'll show a card, I'll do a tutorial on a card later on using these dies here. So let's get started creating the card. Let's take a look at it. It's a very simple card. I did add some soft seafoam seam binding here because I really liked how it took the color out of the leaves and foliage there on the pumpkin. So on the inside, it's just very simple stamping with a highlight of the designer series paper. All right, so our kit will include a Mossy Meadow card base here. So let's just take it out here and we'll kind of put it together. So this is cut 4 1/4 by 11, and I've already pre-scored it with my Stampin' trimmer at 5 1/2. So what you're going to want to do is just fold that in half and take your bone folder and just give it a nice crease here. It is going to be opening this way, so a little bit different. And then the designer series paper is called Rustic Harvest Designer Series paper. So on the flip side, you've got a different pattern, so use what you want. So you can see this one here, and if we flipped it over on the other side and layered up Mossy Meadow, basic white, and the pumpkins here, you would get that kind of look. I do like how the Cajun Craze comes through, so we will be using that side. All right, so let's take, I feel like liquid glue is the best to use on 1/8 of an inch borders. So I'll be using that today. Let me just grab it here. So we're going to put together a lot of the easier pieces, and then we'll do our stamping and then our final assembly. So just take your liquid glue and just bring it around the edges here. And then, like I said, we're going to layer it on white. And it's just an 1/8 of an inch border. So I like to start down here on the lower left corner and then get it set and then bring it across and move it ever so slightly. Okay, you'll see the white border once I get it on the Mossy Meadow. And then we will take our glue again and just run it around the edges and a little bit in the middle. And then we're going to layer it on the Mossy Meadow. Now you can see that white really nice, and it highlights, gives a nice little highlight there. Okay, so the sizes of the paper here, the Mossy Meadow, again, the card base was 11 by 4 1/4, and I scored it at 5 1/2. And then the Mossy Meadow here is 4 by 3. And then the white is 3 7/8 by 2 7/8. And then the Rustic Harvest Designer Series paper is 3 3/4 by 2 3/4. I'll have all those measurements in the description box below. All right, so now we're going to take the larger piece of the Designer Series paper, Rustic Harvest, and we'll apply our liquid glue. And then it's going to go on that card base. This is 4 by 5 1/4, or 5 1/4 by 4. And then here we go there. Okay, so then we've got this piece here, which is going to go layered on here. However, we're going to give it some dimension using Stampin' Dimensionals. So I like to use my silicone craft sheet when I do this step. This protects our surface, and also nothing will stick to it like glue or hot glue or anything like that. So we're going to add our Stampin' Dimensionals, and you can see I've got lots of pieces on the side, so don't throw those away. All you really need to do is cut them into small little pieces just like this. And they work just as well as your regular Stampin' Dimensionals. So never throw out the edge pieces because you certainly can use those. All right, so I'm going to add one to each corner and then one in the middle, just to give it that little bit of support that the panel does need. You want to make sure these are pressed down really nice. And then I use my Take Your Pick tool to take the backings off this Stampin' Dimensionals. I do have carpal tunnel, and so it does, this Take Your Pick tool does work really nicely. All right, so I'm going to set that here, and then I'm going to bring in the soft Seafoam seam binding. And this is just a really nice light green color, kind of soft. It tones it down. And I'm going to run it along the back side. And then I'm right-handed, so I'm going to tie it that, you know, with my right hand. So if you're left-handed, I suggest having the bolt on the left side. So what we're going to do is we're going to, let me just show you here. I've got the ribbon slightly down below center, so about an inch up. So that's where I want it to land here on this panel. So I'm going to bring this over. And let me just give this a little bit more room here. I'm going to take this one over on the left side and just simply tie a knot bow way over on the left side. And so we'll just tie that through. And I tell you what, being diagnosed with carpal tunnel about a month ago, it's really put a havoc in my card making. So it just takes me a little bit longer to tie bows in the fine details. All right, so as you can see here, I made a really small, delicate tails here. So we're going to pull that tight, and then just simply take your paper snips and trim it down really small. Because you don't want these tails to be overpowering, and that will definitely take care away from the visual effect of your focal point. All right, so I did cut those at an angle, and they're really small, and that's what I want. All right, so that is all good and ready to go on our card base. So we'll just bring this right back in, and I'm going to layer it in the middle and just kind of get it centered there. Okay, now we're going to do some stamping. So I've got my basic white panel, which is 5 1/4 by 4. And then I used the Label Me Fancy Punch to punch out a piece of the Cajun Craze, which matches the Designer Series paper. I also have a strip, it's just a scrap, that's going to go over here, and it's 3 3/4 by 4. So let's just add, let me get this back in here, because when you're working with the smaller pieces, there is a tendency to get glue on your work surface. So I just love to use my silicone craft sheet, and they're really not expensive, and they definitely are worth it in your craft room. I actually have a couple of them. All right, so again, that's 3/4 of an inch by 4. I'm just going to move that around so it's straight. That's why I like liquid glue, because you do have that few seconds to work with it. So we're going to be stamping this piece and also the label. So I've got You're Such a Blessing, and I'm going to be using Cajun Craze ink. Any of the colors, a dark color will work. I just like to go tone on tone. So in this case, this is the Cajun Craze, and You're Such a Blessing. Try to get that straight as possible. That's a little crooked, so let me just try again, and we'll use whatever side is straighter. All right, it really doesn't matter. I think that first one is a little bit better. So we've got that one, and then there is a little flower in the stamp set, which I think is so cute. So I'm just going to stamp that right in the lower left corner of the inside panel. And then let's take our envelope, and we are going to stamp that again, You're Such a Blessing, down here in the lower corner. And then let's add a highlight flower right to the top. And there we go. All right. So the rest of it is pretty easy to put together. So we're going to take our white panel. I like to use my Stampin' Seal to adhere the inside panels. So I just will add about 1/2 inch of the Stampin' Seal. This adhesive is super sticky that you do not need to go all the way around that panel. Just save your adhesive so you get the maximum use out of it. All right, so got that. And then here's that label here. We're going to again take our Stampin' Dimensionals. And what I like about the edge pieces is that they're small and narrow. So when you're working with something like this, it's easy to just run them along the edges. And here's our 4th one. Again, make sure it's pressed down really well. And then I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool once again to take those backings off. All right, and then those just get thrown away. And now this is where the ribbon is going to run. So that's why I did not put Stampin' Dimensionals there. I'm going to layer this right on top of that ribbon. And once I like it, we'll just give it a nice little press so that it does stay down really nicely. And then our final step is to add the embellishments. These are the leaf, label, and amber gem combo packs. So they are, let me just show you here. I've got some over here. I keep my embellishments in these, the Stampin' Up! Cases. So you get a bunch of maple leaves here along with the amber gems. They're such a great deal. All right, so I'm just going to add 3 of the amber gems. It doesn't really matter where they go. I think I'm going to put one right here just because I've got quite a bit of Cajun Craze space, open space here. So I think that will add a nice little touch there. And then I'm just going to go and find the black areas here where I think these embellishments will look quite nice. All right, so there we go. And I like to form some kind of a triangle out of using the embellishments rather than putting them straight across, because I think it's a little bit more pleasing to the eye when you kind of create that triangle. All right, so here's the card we made today using the Hello Harvest bundle. Don't forget, when you order the bundle, you do save 10%. So it's a great way to save money on your paper crafting. And then here's a sample we made today. So if you're interested in any of these products, please visit inspiredbygraham.com. And if you would like to become an independent demonstrator, we would love to have you on the Inspired Daisies team. Give me a shout and I'll help you out. All right, you take care and enjoy your harvest bundle.